Reading with your kids.
Hola, ni hao, konnichiwa, assalamu alaikum, shalom, mahaba, ciao, bonjour, namaste, jumbo, bienvenidos. Hey, my name is Jedley, giving you a magical welcome to Reading with Your Kids. We are coming to you from the beautiful, wonderful, historical, magical neighborhood of Reedville, located in the southwest corner of Boston, Massachusetts. We are so very honored and absolutely delighted that you're joining us in our mission to help all families grow closer through reading. We do that by sharing fun, thoughtful, and thought-provoking conversations with absolutely fascinating people who just happen to be writing books for kids of all ages. You can join us in our mission by telling all of your family and friends about the show and letting them know that they can hear us on the WREB AM/FM 24/7 radio network, and they can find us on the iHeartRadio app, Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, Good Pods, Podcast Addict, Castbox, Player FM, Audible, Boomplay, Ghana, Himalaya, wherever you find your favorite shows. This is going to be an absolutely amazing and magical show for you today. Later on in the show, we are going to be meeting Dr. Andrea Clark. She will be here to celebrate Welcome Home, Indigo Owl. But first up, somebody that I've looked up to and learned from a long time, Master Magician Jeff McBride will be here to talk to us a little bit about the magic of storytelling. This episode is brought to you by Feliz Navidad. It's December of 2019, and Pittsburgh is covered in a terrible fog. Even worse, all of the reindeer get sick and they can't fly. Everyone in the North Pole is worried they'll have to cancel Christmas. But just when all hope seems lost, Santa's pet, Feliz Navidad, raises his paw to help. And while a dog is not quite a reindeer, Feliz is their last chance to save Christmas. This is a book about perseverance and grit. Feliz Navidad, the story of how Santa's dog saved Christmas. Get your copy today. Feliz Navidad by Ari and Rhea Helper. My friends, I am very, very excited. We have a very special guest on, and to introduce him, please welcome my amazingly talented intern, Rayling Tang. Hey, Rayling.
Hi, everybody.
Who are we having today, Rayling?
So for everybody, our guest today is Jeff. Jeff is an acclaimed American magician known for his mastery of sleight of hand and unique blend of kabuki theater with traditional magic. Jeff is also the founder of the McBride Magic and Mystery School and holds several Guinness World Records for his impressive feats. Everyone, please welcome Jeff.
And here I am. Oh, with my mask on. Hello, hello. Whoa. And take the masks off, and we're here to talk about the magic of storytelling. So, how can I add some magic to your storytelling?
Oh my God, that's such a great opening. We love it. Seeing Jeff and his little magic. So we're so curious. Jeff, please tell us about the beginning of your journey with magic.
Interestingly enough, my life was changed in about, I'd say, 10 seconds. The first time somebody said to me, pick a card. It's amazing that something as simple as picking a card can change somebody's life. And ever since that day, my life has been filled with magic. That's right. Every day, my life is filled with magic and storytelling. And a deck of cards is a great storytelling invention. Did you know that there are 52 cards in a deck that represent the 52 weeks of the year? That's right. A deck of cards can be used as a calendar. There are 4 suits in a deck of cards that represents the 4 seasons of the year. There are 2 colors in the cards, the red and the black, which represent day and night. There are 13 cards in each suit that represent the 13 phases of the moon. And if you count the number of spots on all of the cards, they number up to 364, plus the Joker, 365. They can be used as a solar calendar. So there are mysteries and stories hidden inside of playing cards. And it was just a simple magic storytelling trick with a deck of cards that got me traveling the world doing magic shows and got me to the library. And that's a real magical place. Most people don't visit libraries, but there are so many worlds of wonder existing on those shelves.
Absolutely, Jeff. Imagination, it's the key to creating a magic show. It's key to creating stories. And where do you find your inspiration from?
Well, I do a lot of reading. And in the library, there's a lot of magic books in the library. That's where I started my inspiration. And I collect books and magic books and story books and folklore and folklore stories and mythology. I draw a lot on that in my magic show, telling stories of magical quests and adventures, of magical initiations, of magical transformations. The secrets of magic have been handed down from wizards and sorcerers and shamans to the modern magic students today. And I keep that lineage alive by passing on the stories and the magic and the lineage. One of my teachers, I found great inspiration, was with Eugene Berger, who is the foremost philosopher in the art of magic. And he was my teacher for over 35 years.
Rayling, I think I told you that I had the opportunity to travel to Jeff's home and to study with Jeff and also Eugene. And it was a magical time. And his library in his home, which you can only access through a secret magical portal, is incredible. It's incredible. It's bigger than many libraries that I visited around the U.S.
Oh my God.
I can send you a little video maybe you could include in this program at the end where people can take a peek inside of our library.
Oh,
really? Do you know where the secret magic books are in the library? If you go to 793.8. That's where you go to find the magic books in the library. 793.8. That's the magic number. And that's like saying open sesame to a world of magic.
I'll take that down. Everybody take the notes with me with that number.
That's the Dewey Decimal designation for magic.
Okay.
In the library.
Good to know. It's my first time. I will definitely check that. And right now we are in the 21st century. So Jeff, what has magic meant to you at different stages of your life?
Well, when I started, I mean, this was one of the very first pieces of magic. I learned how to roll a coin on my hands. And so magic taught me skills. Magic also taught me hand-eye coordination. It taught me confidence. And I would practice in school quietly, like a ninja. And it taught me how to dream. And I would dream of the magical places I might someday travel with my magic show, like Las Vegas, where they have different kind of money, like poker chips. That's right. And it taught me computing skills, mathematical skills. 1 + 1 + 1 = 3. 3 - 1, watch. Oh, I take 1 away, which leaves 2. 2 plus magic equals, wow. So magic taught me coordination as a kid, taught me confidence as a kid. As I grew older, it was a way to stand out in the crowd. When I was in my 20s, it was a great way to travel the world because magic is an international language. It's an international storytelling language that transcends all cultural and language barriers. And as I grow older, I love to be able to empower people with magic, to light people up with their imagination, with new ideas, because magic has a way of making our rigid beliefs permeable to new ideas. Magic gives us a sense of new possibilities. So at different stages of life, magic gives different gifts.
Indeed. Indeed. Jeff, you, as Rayling said, you have, your show has been acclaimed all over the world. You have Guinness World Records, and you certainly are a star on stage. But performing on stage and teaching are two very different things. When did you decide to be a magic teacher to the point that you created this amazing mystery school?
Interestingly, it was when I was in my teens, I started teaching magic. And why was I had some friends that were seriously interested in this. And I was advanced, many years advanced, even as a teenager. And you learn a lot by teaching. You know, doctors, you know, medical doctors, they have a saying, see one, do one, teach one. So, and this is for medical procedures, but I think it holds true for magic. You see a piece of magic, an extraordinary piece of magic, and you watch it and you see it, and it's, you know, partially because you're only seeing it from the outside. And then you dive into the techniques and the disciplines of what it takes to create that piece of magic, and you learn it. And then you learn it on a much deeper level when you have to teach somebody and pass on the information. So there's these three levels of learning. I'm sure it's with storytelling. Mm-hmm. You know, it's hearing a story. Then there's learning the story. And then there's the telling of the story. That's why it's not just story, it's storytelling. Mm-hmm. But there seems to be three stories in the house of storytelling, which is very true for magic.
Indeed. I'm curious. We have a lot of, and I'm jumping on into Rayling's. She was going to ask a question, but I told you that I improvise a whole lot. There are a lot of parents out there who are reading with their kids, but they get frustrated. The kids want the books read over and over and over again, the same book. And one of the things I tell parents is you can read the same book in many different ways. But I think a lot of parents don't have the confidence to kind of go out and improvise. What kind of advice might you share with?
Okay. If you're serious about this, there's an amazing book called The Uses of Enchantment by Bruno Bettelheim, which talks about story and the repetition of story and the importance of the repetition of story. And stories mean different things at different stages of a story listeners of a child's life. And he uses the examples of Beauty and the Beast. When that beast is kind of like when it's a small child, it's the father. And then when they're a little bit older, years later, it's like brothers and other men. And then when they're a little bit older, it's like, you know, would-be suitors are the beast. So the beast matures, and their understanding of otherness matures as they read this. And Bruno Bettelheim talks about the importance of children hearing a story again and again, so the unfamiliar becomes familiar, and they can see the challenges coming up ahead and think like the hero or heroine or, you know, the protagonist in the story. And they can brace themselves for the onslaught of negativity from the villains because they know it's coming. They're not surprised by it. So it's this way of them gaining confidence by putting themselves in the protagonist, in the hero's role. And they become more and more confident the more an actor plays a role. Mm-hmm. The more a young person hears the repetition of a story, the more they grow into the story and can identify and learn the lessons that the story teaches. So if there was any frustration about the repetition of young people having to see The Little Mermaid and Aladdin 50 times and having to sing Frozen like 1,000 million times until this is a necessary part of the growth of maturation of children in the repetition of stories. And so they can become a story carrier. They know that story deeply. And it's by giving, you know, memory is what we have. It's the people we meet and the stories we hear create our memories. And this helps the children internalize the story. So they become that story, and they're now a story carrier. And they can tell you all the details of that story because it's so important. So repetition is a good thing. Giving attention, repetition, and that will bring recollection.
Fascinating. I had no idea that it was. We've talked here on the show a lot about the fact that reading with your kids gives them a chance to imagine themselves dealing with different possibilities. I didn't know there was actually someone who had studied it on that level.
It's a very important book for people that are interested in story, the uses of enchantment.
The uses of enchantment.
I love how you emphasize about storytelling, because like everybody think about magic, they think about speed, like there's tricks on hand, but like storytelling is the essence and one of the background for a magic show, because it connects people and expresses emotions, feelings, and also like give people impressive memories about it. So I really love how you mentioned storytelling. And for our general audiences, Jeff, can you share about how do you maintain your passion and your hobbies and your work? It feels like you're always passionate about magic. So is there a hidden method about it?
Yes. What keeps me young and excited and inspired are young, excited and inspired magicians. I get to work with people from many walks of life. I have students that are 10-year-old students that, Rachel Lynn Gordon started with me when she was maybe 8 years old, and she was the youngest magician on Penn and Teller's Fool Us. And she has a wonderful story. When she was a child, Rachel had selective mutism. She couldn't speak out in public because she couldn't talk to anybody. And she was, she had this incredible shyness that was, detrimental to her growth as a person. But then she found magic, and it helped her express herself. And now she tells her story. She goes around to different clinics where these children that are afflicted with selective mutism, and she performs magic for them and shows them that it's possible to be able to move beyond this stage of life by sharing your magic, sharing your story. I have other students that are that took up magic when they're 70s and are winning magic competitions. Buddy August, his name is Buddy August. You can look him up. He in his 70 years old, and he's created a story. He's a storytelling magician who tells a story. And then I have all of these students that are, some of my students are like Matt Franco, who studied with me when he was 12 years old. And we still spend a lot of time, sharing magic. Every month I'm talking to him, and he's one of the magicians that won, America's Got Talent. Mm-hmm. Right? I mean, it's pretty amazing.
Absolutely.
He was 12 years old. Let me see if I can get this here. I don't know if I can do a screen share with you, but I don't know if I have proper screen share privileges. Nope, I can send a request. But I had a picture for of some of my students. What magicians like Shin Lim and Matt Franco can inspire young people to realize it only takes a deck of cards and telling your story to be able to travel the world and meet people. You don't need tons of stage equipment and dancing girls and lasers. All you need is your story and a deck of cards, and this opens up an entire world to you. And it can start with one simple magic trick. I picked up a magic book one day, and I realized that, hey, I could do this stuff. I could make magic where there wasn't magic and make the world a better place just with making people smile, making people stop thinking about their problems. It's when we make a card disappear, when we make a playing card disappear, we're not just making that playing card disappear. In that moment, all the problems of the world disappear because you can't think about these two things at the same time. So magic is very therapeutic in one way. So I have young students and I have old students, and it's my interactions with them that keep me inspired and young and learning their stories and helping. And hopefully I can help them tell their story through magic.
Very lovely. You just grew your own community of magic, and then the age is diverse because just as you said, magic is the global and universal language. It helps you to express and say your own unique language. It's really good.
Yes, and most of my students aren't professional magicians. Most of my students are people in their 30s, 40s, and 50s that are just seeking magic to be a pleasurable pastime or a hobby or something that they're interested in. Not everybody is even a performer. Many of our students are writers or professionals in other areas, or they are collectors of magic or historians, or just they like to learn about magic. Like most people that go to a baseball game are not playing baseball. They're baseball fans that love to watch it. And it's true at our magic school. Most of the people that come to our school, either online, because we have an online school that meets every week. Tonight is our 700th program in a row, 700 Mondays in a row. And we meet with magicians at all levels, all around the world. And we share our stories and magic. And the nice thing about, you don't have to be a sleight of hand person or good with your fingers to learn magic. There's mind reading magic. There's storytelling magic. There's all these different forms of magic that don't involve necessarily sleight of hand skills. So it's not like you have to be a master of sleight of hand to be able to share magic with your friends and your family.
Indeed, I can attest to that. My sleight of hand ability is very limited, to say the least, but I was able to make a living doing educational magic shows at schools for 35 years.
Isn't that amazing?
It really is.
It's about your passion and commitment.
Mm-hmm. Jeff, I'll share this with you. I did a show one time and in Allentown, Pennsylvania, and the person who hosted me at that school asked if her husband could come in, that he was an amateur magician and really loved it. And I said, absolutely. And he said something to me afterwards that horrified the people that heard it, but I completely understood it. He came up and he shook my hand. He said, my friend, you just proved you don't have to be the greatest magician in the world to put on a great magic show.
Isn't that fascinating?
Yes.
Yeah, that's kind of a strange compliment, but I understand it. You know, I understand it. It's true, because you don't have to be, it's like, you don't have to be a virtuoso piano player to be able to sing a song with a piano, mm-hmm. and to move people with words. You don't have to be an operatic singer to be able to communicate with a song. And I think that's what our school teaches, is that if you are seeking to express yourself through magic, there's a way for you to do this. There's this division we think of between people that are professionals on a high level that are allowed to do magic and the people down here that aren't, but it's not true at all. There's magic for everyone, and there's great magic at all levels of skill.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Jeff, how has magic changed over the years?
Well, magic is always kind of one step ahead of technology, and magicians always have the technology a little bit before the public has, because magicians kind of stay ahead of the curve. Magicians like Robert Houdin, the great French illusionist, was a clockmaker, and he knew things about machinery and even used electricity before electricity was really known. When electricity was just, a budding science, it was already being used in magic. And Houdini used advanced technology, and magicians have always been using radio and television and other technologies. And now magicians are pushing further into, projection mapping and all these other areas of high tech. So, and they balance it with the high touch of magic as well. So there's always been this kind of cutting edge technology. And on the other end of magic is the human touch, is skill magic, because we live in a world that is very high tech, and we have to have that high touch to balance it out. Magic is changing in the way it's taught and disseminated and spread. It used to be that there was very few books on magic, and you had to get these books, which was expensive and difficult and hard to find. And then with the invention of the internet, information became easily accessible from any place in the world. And now there's almost too much information out there. You need guides to be able to curate the good stuff, because there's a lot of noise and disinformation out there as well. So a lot of young people are visual learners, they say, because they don't read. And most of the good content is hidden away in books. And the real kind of fluff and surface stuff is is on the top. So a lot of modern magicians are getting very shallow learning instead of very deep lessons in magic. And it's not just a cliche, but the readers are the leaders because they have the depth of knowledge, not just the breadth of what's happening on the surface.
Yeah. And indeed, one of the things I always encourage young magicians to do is to get to that library and study and pick up those books so that you can get that deeper understanding of magic.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Hopefully, like everybody in the future won't be just like the YouTuber and YouTube magician, but they also like read books and they know the tradition and origin of magic, and then they can use magic as a whole to present to the audiences, not just like through online searching and YouTube learning.
The YouTube is you said something very, very, very interesting there, is that the YouTube learning is really, they're not there to teach. They're there to grow their audiences and get hits. They're not really there to teach, most of them. They're just exposing magic. And there's a lot of exposure, but there's magic is not just about the trick. There's the psychology, the philosophy, the storytelling, and very little of that is on YouTube these days. The real secrets of magic are passed down from master to student in person, in whispers.
Yeah. Jeff, the first time I studied with you was at one of your master classes that you held in Salem, Massachusetts. And one of the things that really impressed me was that in addition to learning the skills that you were teaching of that, you encouraged everybody there to take a dance lesson, take an acting lesson, to really see yourself as a performer and to understand that whether you're on a street corner or on stage, you're creating theater.
Yes, and magic is much more than just the trick. If you're going to, explore deeply, there is the psychology of magic. Of course, there's the theater of magic, which is about lighting and costuming and scripting and memorization and blocking and interacting with the audience and the audience relationship building. There's all of these theatrical skills to learn. And at the same time, there's all the technical skills, all the philosophy, all the history goes in it. So magic is a lifelong study. However, it's accessible to even people that think, oh, I can't do magic. And the answer is, yes, you can. Just start. And the best way to start is to start at a school or with a guide, because then they can help you. They can kind of assess your skill set and your desires, and where do you want to do this? Or do you just want to do it as a pastime or as a hobby? And what would be the most useful tools? Because it takes, many, many years to learn about all the different aspects of magic and what's out there. And then there's good sources and there's bad sources, just like anyone else. I don't know any surgeon that learned their skill, as Ruling said, by YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. I was totally inspired by Jeff. That magic is like way more beyond its fancy appearance. It's a space for people to connect with each other, to create a space to make conversations, and also like make magical things happen. Then people can have a really good memory about it. Mm-hmm. So lastly, to enrich our family activities and traditions and interactions, can Jeff teach us a simple magic trick that parents can practice with their children?
Oh, boy. Well, let's see. I love the idea of sharing the love of magic with people. So we could teach you a simple illusion, and you can do this one for for anyone. I'm going to teach you how to make something appear in the air and then levitate. How about that?
Neat.
And in order to do this, sit back from your computer a little bit, and you have to look at my eyes. You can look at my eyes on the camera or on the screen. Now, what we'll do is we're going to take our two fingers and we're going to put our two fingers together. And in a moment, we're going to make a little tiny hot dog appear between our two fingers. And then we're going to make it levitate. And if you do exactly what I do, you'll see something amazing. We have to use our eyes in new ways. Magic teaches us how to use our senses in new ways. Okay, so take your fingers and place them tip to tip like this. And in a moment, that little hot dog is going to appear right there, like a little floating UFO sausage. Place your fingers on the tip of your nose Now, the idea here is you can't look at your fingers. You have to look at me in the distance. Now, look at me in the distance, focus on my eyes, and bring your fingers out about a foot away, a little bit more, and keep looking into the distance. Focus on me. Bring your fingers up between your eyes and my eyes and look into the distance. Now, separate your fingers tiny little bit, and you'll get a little floating hot dog to appear if you look into the distance. Are you getting that illusion? Yes?
Yes. Yes.
You're seeing that little floating. If you look into the distance, don't look at your fingers. Look at me in the camera. And if you practice that for years and years, you can get it to look like mine right here. Whoa, 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 whoa. Well, give yourselves a round of applause. You're learning a little bit about the art of magic already.
Jeff, this has been incredible. Thank you for sharing that. Could you please tell folks where they can go to learn more about your magic school and all the different lessons that you make?
Yes. We're accessible to folks young and old. We're on the internet. We've been teaching magic there for many, many years. It's magicalwisdom.com. You can also do a search for McBride's Magic and Mystery School. You'll want to join the online school, which gives you access to dozens of magic classes. It gives you access to our magazine, our Secret Arts Journal. We get together on Zoom every Monday night at 7 p.m. Pacific time for Mystery School Monday. And magicians around the world connect with friends, and we share magic, and we learn secrets, and we learn how to share our stories. I'll also send you a video about our school that you can tack on to the end of this if you like.
Wonderful. Well, we've had a great time speaking to one of my favorite magicians in the world, a master, somebody that I've had really the pleasure to study with. Our guest has been Jeff McBride. Jeff, thanks so much for being with us.
Good. I have to say thank you. We'll see you online, and I have to disappear. Abracadabra.
Oh, my God.
Are you looking for a creative way to bond with your kids? Let me tell you all about Drawing with Your Kids, the ultimate destination for artistic adventures. Join us as we dive into the wonderful world of children's books with renowned illustrators guiding you step by step. From beloved characters to whimsical scenes, unleash your imagination and create cherished memories together. Whether you're a seasoned artist or just picking up a pencil, there's something for everyone at Drawing with Your Kids. Please visit our website, readingwithyourkids.com, and click on the Drawing with Your Kids link at the top of the page and let the creativity flow. Drawing with Your Kids, where every stroke brings stories to life. This episode is brought to you by 28 Days of Neon. In 28 Days of Neon, a sweet, funny, and poignant novel, 12-year-old Neon Blue-Green is queen of the cafeteria, co-captain of the cheerleading squad, and has Rainbow, the most amazing dog any 7th grader could ask for. But everything changes one morning when Neon overhears her parents whispering and is sure she has only 28 days left to live. Neon needs a miracle, but how can she get one in only 28 days? She decides to do a good deed every day and starts doing good deeds for everyone in town, from motorcycle gang dropout Knuckles Malone to her autistic classmate Bobby, who becomes a hero and a friend when she needs one most. But when her friends ditch her and her good deeds go sideways, Neon wonders if she'll ever get the miracle she needs before it's too late. This beautifully written, thought-provoking, and moving story will resonate with young readers and the grown-ups in their lives. You'll laugh, you'll cry, you'll be smitten by Neon, her dog Rainbow, and the delightful cast of characters in 28 Days of Neon. Get your copy today, written by Mayra Rosenberg. Hey there, families! Are you looking for an exciting way to bond and learn together? Look no further than our STEM is Family Fun video series. Join us as we explore the fascinating world of STEM through hands-on activities right in your own home. Our series features lessons from experts at renowned institutions like the San Diego Children's Discovery Museum, the National Children's Museum in Washington, D.C., and Children's Museum Houston. From making homemade rainbow bridges to creating an oboe out of a straw, there's something for everyone in the family to enjoy. So grab your lab coats and get ready for an adventure. Go to readingwithyourkids.com and click on the STEM is Family Fun link at the top of the page and let the learning and laughter begin. STEM is Family Fun, where learning and bonding go hand in hand. Join us right now from the beautiful state of Oklahoma. Our guest here today to celebrate her debut picture book. It's called Welcome Home, Indigo Owl. Yes. Please welcome to Reading with Your Kids, Dr. Andrea Clark. Hey, yes. Dr. Andrea, how are you?
Hi, I'm great. How are you?
Wonderful, wonderful. I'm really excited. I get excited anytime I get to help an author celebrate their debut children's book.
Aww.
How did that feel when you got that first copy in your hand?
Amazing. Just the whole year, it was just all these wonderful, magical moments of firsts. The first time that I saw my main character drawn by the illustrator, the first time that I saw the layout design, the first time I got it in my hands, it was just a dream come true.
Wonderful. So tell us all about Indigo Owl.
Okay. The character or the story or both?
Hey, whatever you're inspired to tell us right now.
Sure. So Indigo Owl is a free spirited traveler, and she, has all these adventures and loves her life. And I think in the very first page, it talks about she carries everything in a knapsack on her back. But she loses a special possession of hers, a locket. It falls down, and she tries to find it in this community, this little woodland community, and kind of finds something that she didn't even know she was missing in her life, a sense of community and friendship. And the more she got to know the other woodland critters, she, just got attached to them. And then it was time for her to go, and she felt like a sadness in her heart, and she didn't really know why. But there was a series of things that happened where the fairy, I love fairies and owls, so they have to be in my story. The fairy that hosted her first night helped her find her locket. And then as Indigo was leaving, she said, well, actually, I have something I would love for you to take to my sister in a nearby town. Could you fly it there? Because we just have the town male slug, not a snail. I thought snail mail is too cliche. So I had a male slug in the story, and that's actually the sequel to the story, by the way. But he would take too long to get it there. So, and her birthday's tomorrow. Can you fly it there? And of course, she says, yeah, sure, I'll do that. And she goes there. And then the sister says, oh, I've got something to send back to my sister that you just came from. Can you just send it back to her? A packet of seeds and a thank you card. And so she goes back and then gets caught up in a terrible storm and hurts her wing and hobbles back to Caraway Village, the town that this all takes place in, and has to stay with her friend, her fairy friend, the first fairy friend. And they have games and have like a long slumber party, and there's wonderful food involved, because Ellery the fairy has a garden, and she cooks things out of her garden, and they eat them, and then it's time to go. And then there's a decision, whether to go, whether to stay. Yes.
I love it. I love it. It sounds like there's a whole lot of emotion going on in this.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I think there is, yes. And so, for the age group that I feel like it's targeted, maybe first or third grade, although you can have kids younger than that, obviously relate to it. And, but I feel like that it's kind of a learning experience for them to kind of, what is the sadness about? What's the tugging at my heart? A choice of something. There's two things I want to do. I'm sure lots of kids can relate to that. Mm-hmm. How do I get both, or how do I choose one and accept the loss of the other? So, yeah.
Yeah. So in your day job, you're a clinical child psychologist. So
Right.
this is an area of expertise that you're very familiar with, this idea of helping kids understand their emotions.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. It's been a lifelong journey. So I've always loved kids. Even when I was a kid, I babysat and I wrote children's stories since I was 7 years old. And I never even really thought of anything else to do with my life. Honestly, people ask me, when did you decide to be a child psychologist? I don't know. It just was a natural thing to do. I love psychology. I love learning about mental health and healing, and then children are close to my heart. So I don't think I've ever grown up. So
one of the things that we've talked about here with different authors, and there are a lot of authors writing books about social emotional learning and talking to kids about feelings, which is a wonderful thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I think a lot of us recognize that some kids get it when it comes to emotions quicker and easier than other kids.
Absolutely.
Is it something that is natural for them, or are they just because I had two kids, and one of my kids got it and seemed to have always had it, and the other kid, it was a struggle for a long time. Is it nature? Is it nurture? Is it what?
I think there's a range in there. Like all kids, with how they identify their emotions, how they express their emotions. Even as adults, we have adults that have a hard time expressing their emotions, identifying their emotions. They have to work at it more, but hopefully if you're given the tools to children, when they're younger, then they'll go into adulthood with, feeling more comfortable. But I think that's something missing in our schools, is the more social emotional piece. But yeah, I definitely think that some kids come in, they just start talking. Most kids don't. Most kids want to play or draw, which is fine. And I can help them with their feelings that way. I have like a feeling card game where they pick out, or it's like they have the cards in their hands, and they it's kind of like Go Fish, and you try to get a match, but when you get a match, you put the two feeling cards down of like happy or sad or worried or safe. They have to tell an example of when that happened in their week. But even that's maybe too hard for some kids because it's still verbal. Some kids I have to do like a feeling heart where they would represent different colors for feelings, like mad is red, and how much red they have, and so, or even less than that, if they're doing play therapy with dolls in the dollhouse, and they're acting mad, then I can say, oh, that person looks mad, and I just reflect it for them. So all different ways I meet them where they are. And, so yeah, I don't know if that answered your question, but.
One of the things that you mentioned was that schools are doing more of this social emotional learning for kids. One of the things that I've heard from a number of authors who are also kindergarten teachers is they're pretty frustrated because kindergarten is no longer the place where kids can come and play and learn how to socialize. It's pre-first grade. And, the kids are doing academic stuff in their opinion way too early. Have schools just kind of forgotten about the fact that kids are supposed to learn this in kindergarten when they're when they're playing with each other, or were schools never doing a good job at it?
Oh, that's a good question. I kind of thought that there was more awareness, at least, that kids needed that, but there was so many cuts in the programs that maybe that was, or they were just emphasizing the academics more. I definitely don't think there used to be, that understanding or resources available. And so, like what you're saying, that kindergarten teachers are frustrated. That's really sad, because we know better. We know better now. I don't know why we're not implementing it more. Anyway.
There's a lot of things that we, and when I say that, educators and folks who are working with kids know that doesn't seem to trickle down or up to the politicians and
that's probably it. It's the politicians making decisions about things that they're not looking at the research and putting the money where it needs to go. And, there are school psychologists and counselors, but some of my clients don't even know who they are. They're not like a part of their, they don't come in the classroom. And then if you do go to the counselor, oh, what's wrong with you? It's something weird, or instead of just a normal part of, it's just as important as math and reading.
Right.
And, yeah.
Right. I was chastised once by referring to some public officials as politicians, and they said, no, we're public servants. But I see they're all involved with politics, and so that's the label I get. I'll get in trouble, but that's okay. One of the things you mentioned in the notes that you sent over to me was in your book, you're celebrating communal meals. And we just, that we're recording this interview a few days after Thanksgiving.
Yes.
One of the few communal times when most people get together with family and extended family. Talk, please, a little bit about how important those community get-togethers are and why they're so important.
I think that's one of the main messages of my story and the stories that I write in this series is eating together without electronics. Just simple as that. I think there's a lost art of eating together, getting together around a meal. Thanksgiving, yeah, that's great. Christmas, great. But, why isn't it happening more often? But the whole idea of just everybody being on their phones and watching TV and especially during mealtime, it's like, and I say lost art because a lot of cultures do that. If you look at South America, and they have different tea ceremonies, and it's just something that I feel like is missing in industrialized societies. Except for the families that really make an effort to do that. I still, see that happening, and people can do that. So I just kind of want to bring that awareness. Like, why does it feel so good when you read about the meals in the book and the good food, the wholesome food from the garden? I think people are missing that on some level. They don't even know they are, but I think that's what we're meant to do.
Yeah.
So.
Well, you make a good point that getting together with the family and friends and your neighbors, that's wonderful, and it really is. We did that a lot here. We were blessed. Our home was the gathering place for our families, and cookouts. We would have many over the summertime, and they were a lot of fun. But you don't have to have that big piece of land to do that. You don't have to have dozens of people come in. Just sitting down as a family together every night, putting the electronics down and having a conversation.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Why do you think that is so important? What is it about, clinically speaking, what is it about those get-togethers and that time together that's so valuable?
Well, kind of like we were talking about the social emotional piece that's missing in school. If the kids aren't getting it in school and they're not getting it at home, which I think coming together over dinner and eating and talking, is just another time where they can learn about their emotions. They can learn about how they relate with each other. They're off their phones, which is just kind of a disconnection. They're with their friends, who don't know either how to be social, emotional, deal with things in an appropriate way. So you have the generations, the adults, sometimes the grandparents even, not usually, but you just have more experiences where they can help the children to learn about themselves in context with other people.
Right.
So, I think that, that's just really missing, just those quality interactions where the parents are present with them, because it's not like they're on their phone and they're looking over and they're talking, but they're back on their phone. They're not really present.
Right.
So the kids get the idea of, I'm just going to go do something else.
Right. Talk to me, please. We love asking authors what kind of conversations they think families can have as they're reading a certain book. And certainly you have lots of conversations with kids. What kind of conversations do you think families can have as they're meeting Indigo Owl for the first or the 100th time in your book?
Oh, okay. I was trying to think of different levels to answer your question. Okay, so specifically about my book, how would they have a conversation about Indigo Owl? So this would be for first or second grade kids meeting with or having a dinner with their parents. Okay. I guess just how do you think Indigo Owl felt? When she just kind of go through some of the stages, when she lost her locket, how did she feel? And then how did she feel at the Grateful Festival, which again, Thanksgiving just happened, and the Grateful Festival is very similar to Thanksgiving. Mm-hmm. How did she feel when she got to meet all these friends, and then they had a fire, story by the fireplace? How did she feel, when it was time to go, but she was sad? And has that ever happened to you? And then, what's something that's made you sad this week? Just bring it back to, and then let's talk about it. And I don't know, something like that. Just very simple, basic.
Yeah, I think that those are very important questions. And the reason, one of the reasons I asked is that you have that clinical background. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of parents, I think one of the reasons parents don't talk about these issues with their kids, the ones who don't, is that they don't feel that they have that expertise that you have.
I see.
I'm
sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I hope if they're just by even listening to this, they're probably reading to their children. Reading is a part of their experience. Mm-hmm. But I think, just pat themselves on the back just for that. If they're involved in their children's reading at all, reading together, reading to their children. It's just a wonderful, wonderful experience, on so many levels. They're providing a lifetime of fun. I feel like, with reading, don't make it a pressure. Please don't make it a pressure. Don't be like, I'm not even sure about the summer reading programs where you have to read so many books for a prize. I've never pressured my child to read. And he loves reading. So mm-hmm. I think that's part of it, is just enjoying it together and being present with them in whatever way they want. If they want to read it together or however they want to do that. So, anyway, you're already halfway there if you're reading to your kids and you have books in the home and you value that.
That's wonderful, wonderful advice. Well, we've had a great time speaking to the author of Welcome Home, Indigo Owl. It is the debut picture book from our guest, Dr. Andrea Clark. Hey, Dr. Andrea, thanks so much for being with us.
That was great. Thank you.
We hope you've enjoyed this episode of Reading with Your Kids, and will join us for the next exciting episode of the show. We'd also love it if you could help us recruit new members of our army of folks who are on a mission to help all families grow closer through reading. You can do that in a couple of ways. First off, you can let all of your family and friends know about the show. A great way to do that is by sharing a link to this episode on your social media platforms, on Facebook, on X, on Instagram, TikTok, wherever you connect with your family and friends. That's a great place to share a link to this episode and share a link to the show. It would really also help us a whole lot if you could leave a 5-star review on whatever platform you may be listening to the show on, whether it's iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Good Pods. We love seeing those reviews out there, and it really does help other people discover the show, and that would be a great benefit. We'd really appreciate that. We'd also love for you to connect with us on social media, facebook.com/readingwithyourkids, @readingwithyourkids on Instagram, and @GentlyMagic on Twitter. We'd love for you to visit our website, readingwithyourkids.com. You can check out our blog. You can visit our Reading with Your Kids Certified Great Read Wall of Fame and use the contact button up at the top of the page to send us a message. Let us know what you love about the show. Let us know what we could be doing better. And most importantly, let us know who you would like to hear on a future episode of the show. This episode was inspired by my intern, Raylene Tang. We had a discussion about my life performing educational magic shows, and she asked a little bit about where I got my training and whatnot. I told her a little bit about Jeff and the magic school, and she said, we should have him on. And I said, great, make it happen, and gave her the assignment. And I think you agree this was a really fascinating conversation. And of course, now Raylene had my ear. We were working together for the past 6 months. You don't have that, but you can use that contact button at the top of readingwithyourkids.com to suggest. Maybe there's somebody that you know that wrote a children's book themselves. Maybe you wrote a children's book and you would like to be a guest on the show. Best way to do that is to go to readingwithyourkids.com and click on the authors click here button up at the top of the page. I want to thank the folks who made today's show so wonderful. Of course, we're going to start by thanking our guest, Dr. Andrea Clark, and of course, my mentor, the amazing Jeff McBride. I want to thank my team, Fatima Khan, Chris Doherty, Rory Grady. I want to thank my amazing intern, Raylene Tang. It was a pleasure working with Raylene. She's a very talented young person. She's going to do great things in her life, and we will miss her here on the podcast. I also want to thank my beautiful wife for all the support she gives me. Most of all, we all want to thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today, and as always, thank you so very much for taking the time to make the world a better place. And you do that every time you read with your kids. I'll be looking for you in the next episode of Reading with Your Kids.
Oh, yeah.